Today, I'd like to talk to you about what you can do when your mind is racing. Hello, my name's Dr. Hermine Graham and I'm a clinical psychologist. So I'm going to share with you today 3 simple strategies that really can improve your ability to cope when your mind is racing. Or, sometimes you might have upsetting thoughts that keep playing over and over in your mind. So I really want to help you to be able to think about how you might be able to better cope with them. The first thing we can do with these strategies is breathe. The second thing is some distraction techniques that help to reduce the amount of rumination you might be doing. And the third strategy is about really setting aside some worry and thinking time. I'm going to go through each of these with you. In the previous video, I've shared with you some breathing techniques that are really important to allow ourselves to have a pause from feeling emotionally overwhelmed and overloaded, and to be able to really tap into those coping strategies. What we've talked about previously is inhaling for 3, holding our breath, and then exhaling for 3 through our mouths. So breathing in through our noses and then exhaling through our mouths. So breathing is really key when our minds start to race or we start to ruminate. You might be wondering, well, what does it mean to ruminate? Rumination is really when our thoughts go over and over, our minds go over and over the same events, the same distressing thoughts. And what happens when we ruminate is that our minds tends to latch on to particular events that match how we're feeling. So if I'm feeling very sad, my mind will then seek out all the memories from sad and unpleasant events that have happened in my life. And what it will do is ignore all of the other good stuff that might be going on. So what we want to do is to be able to sometimes to distract ourselves from this rumination and this constant worry that's going on and these upsetting thoughts that are going over and over in your mind. Now, it's really important to say that when we're thinking of distraction, we're not wanting to, in the long term, avoid what we're thinking about. So we do want to come back to that, and we will focus on that in a later video. But for right now, when we're feeling emotionally overloaded and overwhelmed, we want to be able to distract ourselves from those thoughts that are racing around in our mind, so that we can then feel in more control to be able to look at them in an order and think about them. So some of the distraction techniques that we can use are really it's quite simple things that you probably do already without realizing it, or you may have actually tried these out and found that they're really useful. So one of the things you could do is something enjoyable. Any activity that you really enjoy that really requires your focus and your full attention. So it may be cooking, it may be listening to music, it might be cleaning. It may be swimming or running. So it's something that you find enjoyable that really draws your attention fully into it. Watching something funny often helps as well. It might be a program that you enjoy that makes you laugh. That will distract away from the thoughts that are constantly playing in your mind. And when we're watching something, what we want to do is really tune into it. So think more consciously about, well, what am I watching? What are they saying? And what particular things are funny in this? What colours can I notice? What sort of people are in this movie? The other thing that might be helpful is to listen to some uplifting music, or music that you find enjoyable, music that in the past has given you quite a pep in your step, so that will distract you from those thoughts that are whirring around constantly in your head. The other thing that you might find helpful is to talk to somebody, maybe call somebody, text somebody, message somebody, and to perhaps just talk about something completely different. These strategies are strategies that you'll need to practice to improve your ability to use them when you're feeling, when you're getting overwhelmed by these thoughts that are racing around in your head. The other thing we can do is to focus on an object. And this is quite a simple thing to do that is very helpful and can really absorb our attention. So it may be that you've got a pebble or a seashell, or you've got a particular object that you like. Is to really look at it, is to describe it in great detail, focus on how it feels, the texture, the temperature, is it warm, is it cold? and really tune in and describe all the details there. Another strategy you might find helpful is sensory awareness, is to perhaps tune into all your senses at that moment. So what can I smell? What can I see around me? What sounds can I hear in the background? You know, so really tuning in to those sensations. What am I tasting? So if you're, for example, eating food, really tuning into what are the textures, what are the tastes there. Other activities that some people find helpful are things like mental exercises where they, for example, count backwards, or count backwards in twos, or count backwards from 100. So all of these strategies really are ways of helping you to reduce the amount that your mind is constantly racing, and allowing you to improve your focus so that the next strategy becomes much more helpful. As I said, the third strategy I want to share with you today is setting aside some worry time or some thinking time. You might be thinking, well, why would I set aside time to worry or to really think? Well, what we want is, as opposed to your mind worrying and thinking all day long, for those thoughts to be rushing through your mind all day long, is really to have some designated time where you can really think, and you can think through the things that are on your mind. What I'd really recommend is that what you could do, and people find helpful, is to either note them down on their phone, all the things that are going through their minds, and list them, or on a piece of paper to jot them down. A helpful strategy might be to, as you jot the worries or the thoughts that are going through your mind down on a bit of paper, is to split the paper into two columns. On one side you have all the thoughts and the worries that are going through your mind. On the other side, we're going to use it now for problem solving. Okay, and problem solving is quite different from worrying. Worrying is where we go over and over the worrying thoughts or the problem that we're faced with. Problem solving is really looking at, firstly, what can I do to help me with this situation? Secondly, who else can I get help from to help me tackle this situation? Thirdly, do I need to wait for this situation? Perhaps it will resolve itself with time, because I don't have all the answers now. Or fourthly, at this time, do I just need to accept the situation as it is? So setting aside your worrying time is really time where you can sit down with your phone or a notepad, and you can list all the things that have been on your mind, on one side of the sheet of paper or on your phone, and on the other side, looking at problem solving that worry. So we've talked about 3 main strategies today that you can use when your mind is racing. The aim of these exercises and strategies are really to help you to be able to feel that you've got some control back of how your mind is thinking and what's going on in your mind. Thoughts will often come into our minds, they'll pop into our minds, and these are negative automatic thoughts when we're upset, and these thoughts will just pop into our minds or drift into our minds. But what we are the thinker. And so in a sense, we can control how long we allow those thoughts to stay in our minds, how long we dwell on them, and whether, like a cloud, we just allow them to drift past. So the 3 strategies are breathing, ensuring that we're breathing nice and slowly to calm ourselves down. Secondly, that we try out some of these distraction techniques to distract us from constantly ruminating and going over the worries. Thirdly is setting aside some worry time and thinking time where we can go through each of our worries and we can perhaps problem solve them. Thank you very much for tuning into this video.